It was her.
What? How could you know?
Marcus had everything a man could dream of: wealth beyond imagination, a mansion that looked like a palace, luxury cars, private jets, and a life that most people only see in magazines. But none of that mattered anymore. No matter how much money he had, no gift, no vacation, and no endless parties could fill the emptiness inside him. Marcus had lost something far more precious than wealth: his daughter, Emily. Years ago, he had been told that Emily had died in a tragic accident. The news came late at night, shattering his world. Marcus remembered the moment vividly, his hands trembling, his breath caught in his chest, his knees almost giving way. He had fallen to the floor of his office, surrounded by silence and darkness, and cried for the first time in years. From that day, everything changed. The mansion that once felt alive with laughter now felt cold and empty. Every room reminded him of what he had lost. Every expensive painting, every rare artifact, every luxurious chair seemed meaningless. The halls echoed with the absence of her laughter, and even the staff moved quietly, as if they were afraid of reminding him of his grief. Marcus threw himself into work, building his empire even higher, buying more businesses, making bigger deals. On the surface, he appeared successful, confident, and untouchable. But inside, he was hollow. Friends and colleagues tried to comfort him, offering their condolences and saying all the right words, but none of it reached him. How could it? The truth was simple: nothing could replace the daughter he had lost. He watched other fathers with their children and felt a pain he couldn't explain. Seeing Emily's friends grow up without her, seeing little girls running around who reminded him of her, made his chest ache in ways that no amount of money could fix. His wife, Victoria, stayed by his side, comforting him when he needed it, helping with appearances at public events, and making sure the world saw Marcus as a grieving father. He trusted her completely. After all, she had shared this life with him from the beginning. Her presence was supposed to be a comfort, a shield against the unbearable sadness. But over time, even her words felt hollow. He began to feel isolated, not just from the world, but from the people closest to him. The mansion became a cage. Every night, Marcus would sit in Emily's empty room, looking at her photographs, holding her toys that he couldn't bear to put away, imagining her tiny hands reaching for him, imagining her voice calling his name. Despite his grief, Marcus continued his routine. He went to work in the morning, attending meetings, signing contracts, and shaking hands with CEOs. No one could see the storm inside him. He laughed politely, nodded thoughtfully, and made decisions that affected millions of people, all while carrying the unbearable weight of loss in his heart. Some nights, he would return to the mansion, sit alone in the library, and stare at the city lights through the massive glass windows. The glittering lights of the city seemed like a cruel joke, a reminder that life went on while his daughter was gone. He tried everything to heal. He traveled to the most exotic places, spent hours at the spa, bought artwork he didn't even like, and even adopted a routine of rigorous workouts to distract himself. But nothing worked. The pain remained, a constant companion. He would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, unable to breathe, haunted by nightmares of Emily's accident. He imagined her smiling at him, running toward him, only to vanish again, leaving him screaming silently in the darkness. Marcus' friends worried about him, but they did not understand. Wealth had surrounded him with people who flattered him, who admired him for his power, but no one truly understood what it meant to lose a child. Grief was not something money could fix, and for the first time, Marcus realized that his wealth could not protect him from life's cruelest realities. Even in public, Marcus kept his sorrow hidden. He gave interviews about his companies, posed for photographs at charity events, and smiled for cameras, but behind every smile was a father broken in secret. His grief had become a part of his identity, shaping every decision, every emotion, every action. The world saw Marcus Cole, the billionaire, the visionary, the successful man, but behind closed doors, he was just a father longing for his daughter. And yet, deep inside, a tiny spark of hope remained, buried under years of sorrow. Marcus could not explain why, but somewhere, he felt that the story might not be over. That spark, fragile and faint, was about to grow into something he could never imagine, something that would change everything he believed about his life, his wife, and his daughter. Marcus had spent years trying to fill the void his daughter left behind, but the emptiness never faded. One morning, on a rare day off, he decided to visit a charity program in one of the poorest neighborhoods of the city. The visit was meant to be a simple photo opportunity, a few speeches, a check donation, and a few smiles for the cameras. But Marcus was tired of the routine. He wanted something real, something that reminded him of life beyond the luxury and the loneliness of his mansion. Walking through the narrow streets, Marcus noticed children playing with broken toys, running barefoot on dusty roads, laughing despite having almost nothing. There was a strange beauty in their simplicity. He watched them for a while, feeling emotions he hadn't felt in years, a mixture of sadness, admiration, and longing. Then he saw a boy who stood out. The boy was small, maybe 13 or 14, with bright eyes that seemed far older than his age. His clothes were worn, patched in several places, but his posture was confident. Unlike the other children, he didn't run away when he noticed Marcus watching. Instead, he walked straight up to him. "You're Marcus Cole, right?" the boy asked without hesitation. His voice was calm, almost shocking in its certainty. Marcus blinked. He was used to people being awed or intimidated by him, but this boy spoke to him as an equal, direct and fearless. "Yes," Marcus replied cautiously. "And you are?" "Jamal," the boy said simply. "I know things you don't." Marcus' brow furrowed. He was used to careful flattery, manipulation, and exaggerated stories from adults. But this boy had an air of honesty that made him pause. "What kind of things?" Marcus asked, intrigued despite himself. Jamal looked around quickly, then leaned in slightly. "About your daughter," he said softly. "She's not dead." Marcus froze. His mind went blank. The boy's words sounded impossible, absurd. He had been told for years that Emily had died. He had seen the funeral photos, mourned publicly, cried privately. How could some boy in a poor neighborhood know anything about it? I don't understand," Marcus stammered. "You don't want to," Jamal said calmly, "but the truth is out there. Your wife lied to you. She told you your daughter died, but she didn't. I can help you find her." Marcus felt his knees weaken. His heart raced. Part of him wanted to dismiss the boy as crazy, to laugh at the absurdity. But another part, buried deep under grief and years of empty hope, stirred. Could it really be true? Could this poor boy, with nothing to gain, hold the secret to the greatest mystery of his life? Why would you tell me this?" Marcus asked cautiously, suspicion creeping into his voice. Jamal met his eyes steadily. "Because you need to know. Because the world around you has lied. People hide the truth when it's convenient for them. But I saw it. I know the truth. And you deserve to see it too." Marcus wanted to argue, to refuse, to protect himself from hope that might be cruel. But he couldn't. Something about the boy's confidence, the honesty in his tone, felt undeniable. It sparked something he hadn't felt in years, a faint glimmer of hope, fragile and trembling. "Lead the way," Marcus said finally, his voice low. Over the next few days, Jamal guided Marcus carefully, giving him small clues and information that only someone on the inside could know. Each detail was shocking, yet made perfect sense. Hidden letters, secret messages, subtle financial transfers, all pointed to a truth Marcus had never imagined. His wife, the woman he had trusted completely, had deliberately concealed Emily's existence. With every clue, Marcus felt a whirlwind of emotions, rage, heartbreak, disbelief, but also a strange sense of relief. Relief that he might finally uncover the truth, relief that maybe, just maybe, his daughter was alive. By the end of the week, Marcus knew one thing for certain: nothing in his life had prepared him for this. The boy's words had cracked open the perfect illusion of his life. The billionaire, powerful in the world, now felt powerless in the face of the truth. And yet, for the first time in years, he felt alive again, driven not by money or influence, but by the need to find his daughter and confront the lies that had cost him years of joy. Little did he know, the journey ahead would be far more dangerous, shocking, and emotional than he could have ever imagined. And it all began with a poor boy who dared to speak the truth to a billionaire. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. The boy's words echoed in his mind like a hammer striking glass. "Your daughter isn't dead. Your wife lied to you." Every detail Jamal had given him felt too real to ignore. Marcus stared at the ceiling of his massive bedroom, the gold chandeliers and marble walls doing nothing to calm his racing heart. For the first time in years, his grief felt different, not empty, but fiery. It wasn't just sorrow anymore, it was anger and determination. By morning, he had made a decision. He would uncover the truth, no matter what it took. He couldn't go on living a life built on lies. He called Jamal and asked him to meet at a quiet cafe, far from the cameras, the staff, and prying eyes. The boy arrived promptly, his eyes sharp, carrying a folder with papers and photographs. Marcus barely glanced at the luxury cars, the security detail, the watchful gaze of assistants. "Tonight," none of that mattered. Jamal laid out the evidence carefully. There were letters, photographs, hidden messages, even receipts and bank statements that showed funds being sent for someone's care in secret. Every piece of evidence pointed to the impossible. Emily had been alive all this time. His wife, the woman he had loved, had been deceiving him. Marcus felt a cold weight settle in his chest. His anger grew with each revelation. He thought back to all those years of sorrow, of dinners where he smiled politely, of trips where he forced himself to laugh. How could she do this to him? How could she steal years of his life? Why would she do this? Marcus asked, his voice shaking, though he tried to control it. Jamal looked straight into his eyes. Some lies are about greed, some about fear. Some women hide the truth to control their husbands, to protect themselves, or to protect the child in ways you can't understand yet. But she wanted to control you, and she succeeded for years. Marcus clenched his fists, imagining all the moments he had mourned, the empty rooms, the nights of endless sorrow. And all along, it had been a lie. The weight of betrayal was heavier than any loss he had ever experienced. Jamal handed him one final piece of evidence, a photograph of Emily, older now, alive, standing with a woman in a house Marcus had never seen. His daughter's face, though unfamiliar, was unmistakable. His heart ached, but a spark of hope ignited. Emily was real. She had been real all along. And she was alive. Marcus' mind raced. He had to act carefully. He couldn't confront his wife immediately. She would lie again, manipulate, and perhaps try to hide Emily further. He needed a plan. Every ounce of his intelligence, every skill he had used to build his empire, now had to focus on uncovering the truth without alerting Victoria. That night, he returned to his mansion and stared at the empty room that had haunted him for years. The walls no longer felt cold, they felt like a challenge. His daughter's laughter, her tiny hands, the way she used to cling to his leg, all of it surged inside him. But now, there was hope, and hope was dangerous in a way sorrow never was. It demanded action. Over the next few days, Marcus began digging quietly. He monitored phone records, financial accounts, and emails. Every clue Jamal had given him led to new discoveries. It became painfully clear that Victoria had gone to great lengths to hide Emily's existence. She had manipulated friends, staff, and even legal authorities to make Marcus believe the child was gone. Every lie, every forged document, every whispered story had been calculated. And yet, there were small cracks. Little mistakes Victoria had made, addresses that didn't match, letters she couldn't destroy, faint hints in conversations, all pointing to one undeniable truth. Emily was alive, and Marcus was closer than ever to finding her. Finally, late one night, Marcus sat alone in his office. He looked at his reflection in the dark window. The billionaire who controlled industries and empires felt powerless in a way he had never experienced before. But that powerless feeling was mixed with a fierce determination. Emily was out there. Somewhere, she was waiting for him. And no lie, no deception, and no fear would stop him from bringing her home. The shocking revelation had changed everything. Marcus had discovered betrayal, deceit, and hidden truths. But more importantly, he had discovered the first thread of hope that would lead him back to his daughter, a hope that would ignite a journey full of danger, emotion, and life-changing moments. And it all began with a boy who dared to speak the truth to a billionaire. Marcus could no longer wait. The truth had been revealed to him by Jamal, the boy who had dared to speak what no one else would, and the evidence left no room for doubt. Emily was alive, and his wife, Victoria, had lied to him for years. Anger, betrayal, and sorrow burned in his chest. He knew that the next step would be dangerous, but he couldn't sit idle. He had to confront Victoria, to face the woman he had loved and trusted, and demand answers. That evening, Marcus returned to the mansion early. He told his staff he would not be attending a charity event and that he needed privacy. Every step through the marble hallways felt heavier than usual, his mind replaying years of deception and grief. The mansion, once a place of luxury and pride, now felt like a prison where lies had festered quietly in every corner. Victoria was in the study when he arrived. She looked up from a book, calm and composed as always, the picture of the perfect wife. But Marcus had seen the cracks, the nervous twitch in her hands, the hesitation in her smile. He didn't speak immediately. He simply stood there, staring, letting the weight of years of grief and betrayal press down on the air between them. "Marcus," she said softly, trying to maintain her usual tone. "Is something wrong?" "You lied to me," he said, his voice low but steady. "Everything. Emily, she's alive. You told me she was dead. How could you do this?" Victoria's face remained calm, But Marcus noticed her eyes flicker, a moment of panic she couldn't hide. Marcus, I did what I thought was best. I couldn't. Couldn't what? Marcus interrupted sharply. How many years of my life did you steal from me? How many nights did I spend crying over a lie? How could you manipulate everything, my grief, my trust, my heart, for your selfish reasons? Victoria hesitated, then tried to explain. I was protecting her. The world, the media. I thought they would destroy her. I thought I was keeping her safe. You have to understand, Marcus. Marcus shook his head in disbelief. Protecting her? By telling me she was dead? By letting me suffer every single day? By hiding my own daughter from me? His chest tightened, his hands trembling with rage. Do you realize what you've done? Do you even understand what this betrayal means? Victoria's lips quivered, but she didn't cry. She knew she had lost the battle. The evidence Marcus had collected, the letters, the financial records, the secret correspondences Jamal had uncovered, was undeniable. She had underestimated him. He was not just a grieving father anymore. He was a man on a mission. Emily is alive, Marcus said again, almost whispering now. And you kept her from me. Why? Victoria's voice cracked. I was afraid. Afraid you would be angry, afraid you wouldn't forgive me, afraid the world would take her away. I wanted to protect her, Marcus. I never meant to hurt you. Marcus stared at her, the anger in his eyes mixing with years of sorrow. You didn't just hurt me. You stole my time, my life, my happiness. You lied to everyone around you, friends, family, even yourself. For a long moment, there was silence. The only sound in the room was the faint ticking of the antique clock on the wall. Marcus realized then that this confrontation was not just about Emily. It was about trust, about betrayal, about the fragile lines between love and deception. Then Marcus took a deep breath, his voice softer but still firm. You will not stop me from finding her. No more lies. No more secrets. Emily is my daughter, and I will bring her back to me. Do you understand? Victoria lowered her eyes, knowing she had no choice. I understand, she whispered. Marcus turned away from her, his mind racing with plans. He knew where Emily might be, and he knew Jamal's guidance had brought him close. But he also knew this journey would be emotional, dangerous, and unpredictable. He could not trust anyone fully, not even Victoria, not after the years of deception. As he walked out of the study, he felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, sorrow, relief, and determination. The confrontation had stripped away illusions. The betrayal had exposed the truth. And now, Marcus was ready for the next step, finding Emily, reuniting with his daughter, and reclaiming the years he had lost. For the first time in years, Marcus felt alive. The billionaire who had been trapped in grief and deceit was now a man on a mission, driven by love, fury, and the hope of reunion. The journey ahead would test him like never before, but he was ready to face it, and nothing, not even the woman who had betrayed him, could stop him from bringing his daughter home. Marcus could hardly sleep that night. The confrontation with Victoria had left his mind racing, his heart pounding, and a storm of emotions swirling inside him. Rage, sorrow, betrayal, they all collided with hope. Hope that his daughter, Emily, was alive, somewhere out there, waiting for him. Every memory of her flooded back, her small hands clutching his fingers, her laughter echoing through the halls of their old home, the way she used to call him daddy in her tiny, excited voice. Years of grief, pain, and longing had all led to this moment, the possibility of reunion. The next morning, Marcus called Jamal. The boy had been his guide, his unexpected friend, the one who had risked everything to speak the truth. Jamal had provided subtle clues, careful hints that led Marcus closer to the truth without alerting Victoria or anyone else. Today, they would reach the final step. They drove for hours through narrow streets, hidden alleys, and neighborhoods Marcus had never seen before, far from the glittering towers of his usual life. Finally, Jamal led him to a small, modest house tucked behind a row of old trees. Marcus' heart raced as he stared at the front door, afraid that years of hope might end in disappointment. He knocked. Silence. Then, a faint shuffle inside. The door opened slowly, revealing a young girl, no longer the child he remembered, but unmistakably Emily. Her eyes widened as they met his, confusion and fear mingling with something deeper, recognition. "Daddy?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Marcus felt the tears well up instantly. He dropped to his knees, holding out his arms. "Emily, it's me. It's Daddy." For a moment, She froze, unsure. But then she ran into his embrace, burying her face in his chest. Marcus held her tightly, feeling every second of lost time melt away in that hug. Years of sorrow, anger, and longing poured out in silence. He could feel her heartbeat against his, hear her shallow breaths, smell the faint scent of her hair. She was alive. She was real. And she was finally in his arms. After a while, he pulled back just enough to look at her. "I've missed you so much," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I never stopped looking for you. I never stopped hoping." Emily clung to him, tears rolling down her cheeks. Why didn't you find me?" she asked softly, confusion and hurt in her voice. Marcus swallowed hard. "Because people lied to me, Emily. I was told you weren't alive. But now I'm here, and I'll never leave you again." Jamal watched silently from the side, a proud, quiet smile on his face. He had been the one to bring truth to light, and now he saw the power of honesty, courage, and love transform everything. Victoria had been defeated not by force, but by the unwavering love of a father and the courage of a boy who dared to speak the truth. Marcus had no desire for revenge. He wanted to protect Emily, to rebuild the relationship they had lost, and to ensure no one could ever separate them again. Over the next days, Marcus arranged for Emily to come home. The mansion that had once been a place of grief and secrecy now became a home filled with laughter, warmth, and the slow rebuilding of trust. Marcus devoted himself entirely to his daughter, teaching her, listening to her, and making up for the lost years. Every hug, every conversation, every bedtime story was precious, a reminder that love could survive even the deepest betrayal. Jamal, the boy who had changed everything, became a trusted friend and advisor to Marcus. Together, they ensured that Emily's life was safe, happy, and full of opportunities she had been denied for years. Marcus realized that wealth could not protect against lies, but love, determination, and courage could conquer even the darkest deceptions. One evening, Marcus sat with Emily by the garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in gold and orange. He held her hand and smiled, feeling a peace he hadn't known in years. The billionaire who had lost everything had now found what mattered most: his daughter, trust, and the power of truth. Marcus understood something important. The shocking revelations, the betrayal, the years of grief, they had all led him here. Sometimes the most painful truths could bring the greatest redemption. And because a poor boy had dared to speak the truth, a father had been reunited with his daughter, and a life built on lies was transformed forever into a story of hope, courage, and love.